Drew Hendricks here. I'm with Fred and Renee. It's another episode of We Fixed Real Estate, where we discuss and go deep into how real estate should be fixed and what the solution is. Fred, how's it going today?
Just groovy, dude. And you?
You know, I'm doing well. I'm building a retaining wall in the backyard, and last weekend I lifted 11,000 pounds of rock.
You are the man. Telling you could go to federal prison and work on.
Who needs CrossFit? Who needs to flip a tire over when he can go to Home Depot and get 20 bags of rock and do it 4 times?
So this is good. I mean, tell us what happened and what you did, because I'm sure there's people listening who have retaining wall issues, and
you got to do it right, and you can't skip. You can't just put up a couple 6x6s. So it's a 48-inch retaining wall, but I had to dig every 24 inches. I put a 6x6 in, 40 inches down, 48 inches up with 3 bags of concrete, then backfilled it 3 feet at an angle with rock, and then put in a French drain.
Wow. And that would have cost you how much if you would have gotten a contractor to do it?
You know, I spent the 2 days lifting the rocks thinking about what it would be worth. My materials was about $800.
Okay. So and how many hours do you think it took you?
Well, it's not done yet, but I'm about 20 hours into it. But
Okay.
I'm figuring my health is what's the true benefit here. I now have muscles again. I'm rivaling Renee. Renee, you'd be surprised. I got biceps almost like yours now.
That's pretty good.
So if it's
And all natural.
it takes, I'm just doing the math. If it takes 20 hours, let's say, and you got the contractor's going to have 2 guys doing it, charge, I don't know, $50 an hour, $100 an hour, 20 hours is $2,000 plus 800 materials, plus another 20%. So what it should be like a $2,500 job, theoretically.
It's a 6,000 to 8,000. I watched a YouTube video of a guy in Menlo Park that spent $300,000 on his retaining wall.
Of course he did.
And the guy that was building, it's like, look, I've got 10 guys out here. Each one of these guys is making $20 an hour. I've got they had all the equipment out there. That retaining wall is a bit bigger, and it took 3 weeks. But 3 weeks with 10 guys, $20 an hour, it adds up. It's all.
It sure does.
Yeah. And I think that's the important of like upfront pricing, because, you know, if someone's charging you by the hour, that's when the contractors just take their sweet time, versus if you already have like the price, it's like, hey, you're getting paid for the actual contract for whatever you're building. You at least know what you're paying for. Right. So.
Yeah. And that's like our fixed fee, as opposed to somebody charging per hour for real estate, which is what kind of people are talking about. They're claiming that the Justice Department wants to have agents work per hour, but that's going to be silly.
That's how it's going to be. I actually disagree with you.
It's absolutely silly, because that can be padded so much. Oh, well, I take the time from when I leave my house to get to the first appointment. I'm charging you for that. These people could just start overcharging like crazy on that. That's why we love our flat fee. You know, sometimes we work 20 times harder, and sometimes, you know, we have people who know what they're doing, and it's easy. So, but you know what? That leads me to another thing while we're talking about pricing, because and it's not directly related to the real estate industry, but it's sort of related to where things are kind of going in different walks of life. And prescription drugs. There's a company called Forest Park Pharmacy, and they're in Texas. It's Forest with 1 R. They have something interesting. What's that?
Forest with a F versus a PH? Oh, 1 R.
No, 1 R. Yeah. Anyway, sometimes some people spell with 2 R's. Anyway, so forestparkpharmacy.com. What they're doing is interesting. They don't take any insurance. And what they do is they just say, look, whatever our cost is plus $10. That's it. That's what they charge for every prescription. It's for all intents and purposes a fixed price pharmacy, because if you go to the website, the guy explains the difference if it goes through these channels between Medicare and the insurance companies and this and that. There's a guy in the middle, forget what he's called, but he works on percentage. So of course he's going to price the thing high, and the insurance companies pay it. It's insane. I hope this guy takes over the world. Him and Mark Cuban's kind of doing the same thing. He's doing stuff cheap. So there are crazy businesses that you never thought would change, starting to change. And we applaud them because they're just breaking down old habits and old insanity. As we go on with our fixed
They're on
price.
transparent prices. We'll put the link in the show notes for those in Fort Worth, Texas. That's where you should be purchasing.
There you go. He does it all over the country. He'll mail it to you.
Oh, well, wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Because you can do that. It's not state controlled. Like each state has their own real estate commission. It's like basically everything's the same all over the country. Same with mortgages. You got to get licensed in each state. It's like a mortgage is a mortgage, and there's certain little nuances that the states want you to do. But I'm sure if they all got together, they could come up with one process, and it would make life easier. It would make licensing easier. It would make real estate agent licensing on a national basis. How about that, kids? But I'm way out there with this. Let's just stick to fixing real estate. The other big thing I wanted to mention, people might not realize this, but we are also mortgage brokers, and our profit margin over our wholesale cost is fixed compared to literally everyone in the mortgage business, which is on a percentage. So we all get basically the same rates from Fannie Mae every day. And if you're going for $1 million loan, you go to a typical mortgage bank or mortgage broker, they're going to charge basically 1.5% to 2% over that. So it's $10,000 to $15,000 is their profit margin. So their rates are going to be higher than us, where we have a flat fee of $47.50. That's our profit margin. That's our gross margin, I should say, not the profit. But so we've been getting a lot of mortgage business lately, and especially on jumbos. We just had a buyer who was fully underwritten, pre-approved by Chase. Went to Chase yesterday to get the rate because they got under contract, and they gave him 7 3/8 on a jumbo 30-year fixed. We were at 6.99. It's like, that was a monumental difference. So we have one lender who has really amazing jumbo rates. They're very strict, 45% back end ratio. You have to have 6 months reserve. So, it's for clean deals. But the point is that we're super competitive on jumbos now, which we weren't for years. We were sending everybody to the likes of Wells or B of A or Chase or somebody like that. It's great to do. And obviously under that amount, we're very competitive too in the Fannie Freddie world. So one thing that came out of the lenders, Fannie and Freddie this week, it's kind of silly and stupid, but the real estate agents are saying this is a victory. Fannie is basically saying, look, if you want to have a seller concession, which means that the seller is going to pay for your closing costs, there are rules. It's anywhere from 2 to 9%. I won't go into details, but it has to be for actual closing costs. That is still allowed. But what they said on a separate note is, we don't care if a seller pays the buyer's broker fee. We don't care. Well, that's not even a change because they haven't changed. They haven't had a problem with it before. So it's no change. It's not like you can use, and this is the important thing, you can't use the typical Fannie Mae seller credit to pay for the buyer broker fee. It must be for the actual closing costs, like points, appraisals, credit reports, title insurance, transfer taxes, insurance, real estate taxes, all the normal stuff, but they're not going to pay for the buyer broker fee. So the way the agents were looking at it is saying, hey, well, let's do a deal where we wouldn't get a buyer broker credit, a seller credit, but let's get the credit so that the person can afford my buyer broker fee. So these realtors continue to try to go down rabbit holes that they don't understand. They're claiming the numbers work out and trying to keep their fees at least the same or more and keeping the buyer broker fee alive. So again, we'll see what happens. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know that nothing is firmed up. There is no real plan. It's just a settlement agreement that has not been approved by the judge. There are many other lawsuits, and the Justice Department has not chimed in. So that's the bottom line. But like, we're talking to people who are going to sell their house, and we said, oh, look, don't offer a buyer broker fee. There's no reason to, especially $1 million and up. The buyers have the money to pay the buyer broker fee. It's not, maybe, if you have a buyer who's buying a $250,000 house and scrimping money together, we understand that. And the fee is not going to be that much if it's done percentage wise. Yeah, excuse me, they're kind of hurting, but the more expensive properties,
I think you're missing the whole point, Fred. I mean, the whole idea is that, like, why does it matter whether they can afford it or not afford it? I think the only issue that's important is the fact that commissions, it should always be told up front. Like, what am I charging? Right. So I don't know. The argument of
I think though, what the argument is they want to keep the status quo of buyers having the seller pay the buyer broker fee, because the agents aren't thinking. They're just thinking, let's keep it the same. But in fact, I mean, we've had deals where the buyer pays us. They don't have a problem with it in the higher priced homes. That's kind of the thing. It's just the realtors want to keep the status quo, even though the hammer is coming down on them. That's their.
It's hard. It's hard to change. People fear change.
Okay. Yeah.
Unlike Arrivva, you embrace change.
I love it.
Embracing change. Let's talk about local listing agents. I mean, are they necessary? Should you find one?
René, I'm going to let you talk first.
Yeah. Well, actually, here's the thing, right? I think being local is a value addition. I think Fred always is like, there's no value. There's always that kind of like angry remark against like local agents and not having any value. I think that it's based of a entire like list of value add-ons that an agent can provide. So one of the biggest value add-ons is being local. However, just because you're local doesn't mean you're a good agent, right? A new agent that's just a neighbor. I've seen agents who are new, but because they grew up in that neighborhood, the neighbors give them the listing. Now, how is you being local and fresh going to make you a good listing agent? It's not, right? So it has to be really nuanced about what being local really means. And the second part of that is that being local meant a lot 30 years ago, because there was no data points, there was no Zillow, no Redfin. There wasn't
internet
websites. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, right? So I can't really speak to that, but it was definitely not as easy as me right now going on Google Maps, having Earth just really tell me exactly how things look like, right? Apart from that, a good agent that is not from that specific street is going to make a lot of calls, right? So we do business all over the state, and we're not in every neighborhood, but it's our job that because we're not in that neighborhood, we're going to make contact with people in that area to get a little bit more context. People are always going to be sharing information because that's what agents should do. Nobody's going to pick up the phone and say, oh, sorry, you're not from the neighborhood. I'm not going to share any information, right? So I think it's a misconstrued idea that being local means everything. And I think that's the important part. It's not about, oh, you're not local or you are local. It's about knowing that now in the current moment, there's a lot of technology that lets you become local through just the digital age, right? So, and I think Fred can't disagree with that.
Like the walk score and all that stuff. You've got it on the SoundCloud, the sound score and the walk score. I mean, you're offering local knowledge at a much larger scale than just anecdotal inferences.
I mean, the point is with a listing agent, number one, do you know how to market a property properly? Are you going to take nice pictures? Is your description going to be really good? Are you going to make people come to the house to see it because of what you've done? You're going to look at comps to see what the pricing is. You're going to be at the house, driving around what the neighborhood is like. And especially the Bay Area. I mean, basically an area of single family houses. So people would ask us, hey, I want to see that you sold houses in, I don't know, San Ramon. And it's like, to me, it kind of doesn't matter because I've sold houses in, say, San Jose. I could sell a house in Los Angeles. The idea is we're going to market the place the same. We're going to do the Matterports and the drones and possibly the digital staging and things like that. And we're going to know how to attract people to buy the house. So people aren't going to come into the open house and say to the listing agent, one of us is like, well, do you know where the best coffee shop is? Or how long does it take to get to the freeway? Or, things like that, that would be the local knowledge type of things.
And I think that's what makes us better than local agents, right? Because we don't discriminate against houses. And what I mean by that is that we don't go and say, oh, well, in this area, there's no Matterports. Agents don't do Matterports. We're going, across the board, we're always going to have a 3D Matterport. We are always going to do a floor plan, and we're always going to pay for professional photography. It won't be some silly cell phone, iPhone pictures, right? And because we're not local, we're not going to be bullied into paying the fees or the higher fees for a stager, right? Our job is to get different bids for staging, for photography, for any marketing materials at a price that makes sense. And the problem with a lot of local agents is that because they know that neighborhood so much, and because they've just done the things the same way over and over again, here's what they do. And this happens all the time. I call an agent and I'll ask, and we'll ask them like, oh, how did you pick your stager? Oh, well, I have a relationship with them. And that is ridiculous. Just because you have a long-standing relationship with someone doesn't mean that they're offering you the best price. So because we're
or the right furniture.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, I think all furniture, I think people a little bit get stuck in that furniture piece because unless it's like a Victorian house, you don't need to have like the quote unquote right furniture. It just needs to make sure that it's neutral. I think people just prefer to see a house that's furnished versus not having furnished, right? So, but the point is that, we actually offer better pricing because we don't just go off of relationships. So we're not overpaying for things just across the board. And I think that's what I want people, listeners to really think about, right? You're not just getting lied to.
Yeah. And just in case people don't know what we do, we charge a flat fee of $15,750 to list a property. It does not include a buyer broker fee, which we're telling people just do zero. But we pay for inspections of the property, all the photography that René just mentioned, cleaning of the property, a super cleaning, windows, everything, whatever we can reach. And we're also now paying for staging because we're either doing digital staging or we're doing regular staging. And I don't think anybody's got a complete package like we do at the fixed price that we have. And, and people ask, well, how can you do it so cheap? Well, I'm not paying out 80% commissions to outside agents. We operate, René and I are both brokers. We operate together. We're all on Slack. Everything gets done through us. So you're going to have us for every step of the way, which makes a big difference. And we're just trying to get a good package together. And we don't need to make gazillions on every loan or every transaction. So that's where we're at.
Drew, any questions about how we list properties?
No, I do have a question on the photography, and you guys might be able to help me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you guys, no, I don't say you don't do it. Why do real estate people use like a 10 millimeter lens, completely fisheye, to make like a 10 by 10 room look like it's 20 by 40? And then you go look at the house and it's like a closet. I mean,
I'd argue that that's good marketing, right? That the whole idea with pictures is that you want to get the most people into the house, right? That's why you see a lot of the times they add more floor into the picture than they should, right? Because then you're pulled into going right into the house. So it lacks a little bit of transparency. And I think that's the argument as to like when some agents don't post a lot of pictures or when they don't do a floor plan, because they don't want people to know that it's a quote unquote bad layout. But you're wasting people's time.
Yeah.
Whoever's going to buy it, you're not going to buy it because they got fooled by the pictures and now they get there and they love it now. You're just going to get people who are upset and are not going to bid in the property anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, if images aside, so we talk about listing, local listing. Now, is there any benefit towards a local buyer's agent?
Any benefit?
I mean, is it the same sort of deal where a buyer's agent, like you're still looking at the list of properties that are available and you're taking your clients there?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same story. I think it all boils down to having like the data points of what's sold nearby. And that's how I do a lot of my due diligence and into like knowing what to offer, right? Because we know exactly what's on the market, what went pending just now. We know when it's pending, we then call the agents to figure out if they can share a range of what it went for. Mm-hmm. And the agents are not going to lie, right? Because agents know this simple fact. If they lie about what a property is going to sell for, eventually people are going to catch on into the fact that those agents are going to lie, right? So it's especially when you're in a market of 2 million plus, agents are not going to just waste their career in saying that a price is not right, because then it's going to come back to them. I think there's a lot of mistrust in the world of real estate, but I think a good agent that has those type of listings, they don't have a reason to, especially because they have 10, 15 offers. The market conditions right now enable a lot of quote unquote transparency in what a house went for. No, I mean, I think it boils down to like having an experienced agent, right? Brokers. And then both Fred and I are brokers. We're not just agents that just got our license. And that's what sets us apart.
That's what happens. You work with some teams, the Smith team and, Susie Smith and 7 people, they're beautiful picture and they're all nice. And then you get, Joni, who just got her license, you get assigned to her. We don't work like that. We're together. You're working with a company in Arrivva. You're not just working with an individual agent. We work out of Slack, makes life so much simpler for all of us. Everything's in there. Everything's in one place, every conversation, every document. So it's just organized, and that's kind of the only way to do it. At least we see it that way.
Absolutely. I would also just add that probably talking about local knowledge, it's more important for the person you're working with to actually understand who you are and what you're looking for, rather than having all this knowledge of what's out there.
Let me add something about the words local knowledge. So I'll use San Ramon as an example, and we want to list your property there. And someone asks, "Well, show me all the houses you've sold." More importantly, show me all the houses you've worked with buyers on to get, because it's the buyer's mentality that you need to learn, and that we know because we work all over the state, that we know what the buyers are looking for. In that area, you got to have a house that's finished, that's nice, that's ready to move in. You're going to get top price. It's got to be in this school district or whatever. So I think it's more important to have knowledge of the buyers rather than local knowledge of the area. I think that outweighs it a lot.
I'll add this even more. Both Fred and I work on a lot of deals together, right? It's not a lot of outside agents, but what happens when another agent provides their marketing, they have tons of listings and purchases, but the reality is that those are probably not their listings. They're just probably a big team effort. So that that company, like if you look at Compass has billions of real estate sold, but that's between clusters of so many agents that it's not actually relevant, right? I think it's going to be rare that you actually talk to an agent that really has more knowledge of writing more contracts and getting properties on their contract than us, because they're going to have one property every 4 or 5 months. And if they show that they have more, odds are that it's because it's not their listings. It's going to be of a huge 10-person team. So
yeah, and there's other little things that you should ask. I mean, for example, I've been in the mortgage. I keep telling people this. I love this. I've been in the mortgage business since Jimmy Carter was president. So the fact is, I'm going to know a real fully underwritten pre-approval from junk. So when offers are submitted, you might get the highest offer, but it's with a pre-approval that's worthless. Typical agent's not going to know the difference. They don't read. They don't understand it. We understand all of it. We know when a proof of funds is a joke. if it doesn't have the name of the person and the date and the amount, we're not going to accept it. It's the minutia. It's my favorite word, as everybody knows, is context.
Mm-hmm.
We understand the entire context of the entire transaction and what a seller needs to have for their protection to be able to get the right offers. How to make the place nice, how to make it inviting, and how to get great offers. Because we're going to put specifically in the MLS and in the public notes and the agent notes, you must have a fully underwritten pre-approval when you bid, especially where we're going to have 38 bids. Because even if you have the highest offer, here's another trick that people play, and a listing agent may not even think about this. You come in $100,000 over everybody. You have an offer $100,000 over everybody else, but they want a appraisal contingency so that if the appraisal comes in lower, they can get out of the deal or renegotiate. Well, they're playing a game with you because, of course, they're going to go higher than what it's going to appraise for, and then they pray that the appraisal comes in low and they get the place at a discount. So it's a stupid game that they try to play on a multiple bid situation. I mean, just, you gotta know all these type of things to be able to do a listing. And that's more important than local knowledge of where the candy store is. Yeah.
Well, it might be important to some people.
Yeah. Or order it online. That's all.
Well, talking about candy stores with no segue, let's talk about this new Dream luxury liner that's going to be connecting San Francisco to Los Angeles.
So when René schleps from San Francisco down to see his folks in San Diego or comes bring the Matterport to LA, he's driving his Tesla, and it's fine and good, and he's hands-free and all that, but I still don't trust it. But there was a bus that ran between Santa Monica and downtown San Francisco before the pandemic.
The green tunnel? No, that's the hippie bus that goes up to Seattle.
Oh, dude. No, I forgot the name of it. It was a luxury bus with like sleeping compartments. It was cool. I never took it. I never had a chance to take it. It was cool. But now with the train, and there's some really interesting things about this train whenever it gets going. It's probably going from Union Station to Oakland, I think. But the cool thing is that I've been talking about this for years. There's a thing back east called the auto train. And what that does is you drive your car to this spot outside of Washington, D.C. on the Virginia side. They put your car on the train and you go to a chairs or a sleeping thing, whatever you arrange. And overnight it goes from Lorton, Virginia, that's right, to just outside of Orlando. And then you get to Orlando and you got your car. So you can go all over Florida with your car. It's an awesome idea. So why couldn't we have that between LA and San Francisco? Well, guess what? This new train is going to have that.
Oh.
Allegedly. So that'll be great. René can sleep all night and wake up in LA and continue on to wherever. I can go up to San Francisco my car.
I hate renting. I hate renting cars.
Me too.
It's just a pain. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's totally annoying. But that'll be great. That's better than the bullet train. They should forget the bullet train. Just keep doing these kind of things.
Oh, you take a night train up to San Francisco. That's perfect. It's like the ferries up in Washington where you can take the ferry to Vancouver for 8 hours and get an interior car.
Exactly. Yeah. So it can help you if you live in LA and need to go to San Francisco for the week and you just go to your office here and need a car and whatever. That'll be great.
I mean, I will say I saw the report about inflation, right? And some of the things that have been actually deflating and being less costly are airfares. And I mean, right now, if you book a flight tomorrow to LA, I mean, it's $50. So I think that's comparable. Like how much of a difference is it going to be to take the train? If it's a train that's $400, well, probably the same thing. I just rent a car.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the prices are. I mean, they're going to have to adjust to the market.
That's where probably the government comes in, right? They have to subsidize it, or else it won't work. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have all this debt. So we'll see. I don't want to be negative, right? But it's like flights are so cheap these days.
Okay, I'm just talking theory. I love the theory. Let's leave it at that.
That sounds good. A luxury Dreamliner. And that's the Dream Star for those looking. Dream Star Lines, if you want to Google that. That's what.
Yeah, or we'll put it in the show notes, right?
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure.
As well. So last words. I know, René, you're rocking and rolling. You're out of here.
Yeah, that's why I brought up the plane issue, just because some people are coming in from LA and they round trip, they're paying $102. It's like, it doesn't get any better than that, right? So, and they booked their flights like 48 hours ago.
Wow. So there's still a decent amount of competition between LA and San Francisco airports, and it's great.
Fred, last words?
Last words, you can fly a 787 and sit in premium economy between Los Angeles and Philadelphia. It's fantastic. It's because the airline, it's on American, because the airlines have always been stuffing us into crappy 737s. And, it's awful, but yeah, real nice. So you got to fly to Philly from LA on American. Look for the 787s because they fly to Europe or fly to Asia with them when they're here over in Philly, because Philly's a hub for American to Europe.
So there's not financial advice, but earnings on watch Boeing next Wednesday. So we'll see what happens.
Wow. I can't imagine it. More bad news coming though.
No.
Well, United had an order for 737s. I don't remember if it's the 10s or the 9s, but they just switched it to the Neo 321s out of Airbus, like 50 of them. So that's going to hurt future Boeing, but it's going to take a while for Boeing to come back.
I'm sure we'll be talking about this next week.
There you go.
Time will tell whether Boeing's too big to fail.
Well, I bought some Boeing options. So.
Okay, well, there you go.
Boeing, yeah. So he's moving the market.
Okay. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Okay. Go enjoy your drive. It's been another episode of We Fixed Real Estate. Everybody have fun. Talk to you later.